Chan, you and I've known each other just a few years.
Yeah, about getting close to 65 or so.
Do you really want to admit that? You look a lot younger than that.
I guess I haven't aged as well as I thought I would.
Anyway, we go back quite a ways with the rehab center. And I think when I first came to Mansfield, it had been started by Betty Ingram and Dr. Schaefer. But you go back further than that.
I started out when I was 16 with the Crippled Children's Group because there was no treatment center here in town, and the children had to go to Elyria for treatment. And Rotary, that has been very instrumental in the whole history of rehab, had the Rotarians volunteer to take the kids up to Elyria. And my father was a Rotarian and was busy with the company, so he delegated me to be the chauffeur for part of that summer. So I was a 16-year-old kid with a 49 Ford convertible taking children to a treatment center in Elyria. That was how the original treatment for the children came about, was Elyria. And that's about the time then that you came in as an occupational therapist.
Yeah, and it was at an old house that Dr. Schaefer and maybe Rotary even helped, that they occupied on West 3rd Street. And it was pretty old because on the second floor there were holes in the floor, so that when we had to have an inspection, we were told to go up and put our feet over the holes in the floor. And so that's really where I got my beginning with crippled children, which became rehab, which now is part of Catalyst.
Yeah.
It was very sufficient for a while.
Yes.
And then we needed to figure out a way for the kids who had been in our program, who were mostly cerebral palsy, birth defects, post-polio kids. We're getting close to graduation time from school. And there was a need then for us to figure out a program for those kids after they got out of high school, rather than just be at home.
So you came to a meeting of the Manufacturers Council, so they sent you as a sacrificial lamb to this group of men to try and plead the case to have something done for the children, or the youth of the thing. And you came, and I was there that time you came to speak, and after you gave your talk about what was needed, the chairman of it at that time made the comment that looked out in the group and said, "Hey, Chan, why don't you work with her? You're the only one in the room here that's close to her age." We got together with some other people and decided to start a workshop. And then the question came, where do you go? And we found out that the old Schmidt and Pete hardware store, 400 Bowman Street, was empty. So a lease was done for that, and we started rebuilding the building.
But before the lease was done, you remember the wives of the board members hosted coffees, and we invited people, different women, to the coffees and gave a program about the rehab and why we needed PI. And that's how we started the auxiliary, which was began as the Progress Industries Auxiliary. And they helped raise money for Progress Industries. So, but the need then, it was still the Progress Industries Auxiliary. But when we moved to Sterkel, we became the Rehab Center Auxiliary. And then we started the Town Roast. So the first Town Roast, which wasn't a roast then, was the show out at the campus called 1776. And it really started in 1976. And what we did was we tried to get community people that the rest of the community knew in some way to put on a show that made fools of themselves, really. Thanks to a lot of the women who were involved in that auxiliary and to Jean Sherman, the Town Roast grew and was, grew bigger and bigger.
And then, of course, the other thing that you got started was the telethon. And
well, Sheila.
Yeah,
Sheila York and Gog Micey, they're the ones that really spearheaded that. And think of all the years that we are grateful to GOG, MICE, and WMFD for continuing to sponsor the telethon, and the amount of money it takes to put that on that they do in kind is just unbelievable. Jeff Urban and Sheila, you know, they really co-hosted that for I don't know quite how many years. It's just amazing to me that from the Crippled Children's Center in a house that was torn down years ago on 3rd Street to have grown because of the community support. And if it weren't for rehab, I don't think we would have been able to have helped as many children and adults along the way, because it was the first of its kind really in the state. And it also, it was more comprehensive than some of the others. And also Progress Industries was the first rehab workshop, rehab sheltered workshop within the state. And so, you know, at the time that Crippled Children started, there weren't a lot of other community agencies. So getting the auxiliary started was a wonderful thing, because that provided some community nucleus of support. Well, Chan, we've been lucky. We have been involved with an organization with people who care about the community, who care about people, who want to help. We've been involved clear through all these years, clear up to 2017. And I'm sure that Veronica, her staff, Catalyst, the Center, Rehab, Progress Industries will continue long after we're not around and continue to meet the needs of Richland County and surrounding counties.
And it's been a lifetime of interest of you and me, and it will continue as we are growing old and feeble in the sunset. But it's something you'll take with you at all times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.